Today we're going to be focusing on getting this thing ready for paint. We have a few little dents here and there, not too many, mainly up front, mainly in back. Yeah, right in this area there's a few coming up here. This is our new modification. So it's 8:30, it's 89 degrees out, and it's humid. You can see the ground's still wet from last night. Last night, I didn't get much sleep because around 10:30 at night, the gods were speaking. It was so freaking loud. Thunder just rolling through, lightning, crazy. No major rain or anything. It was just the most ominous sound and shaking that you've ever felt. It's just one after another over here. It's pretty nuts. So in any case, we're just gonna work on this one thing, see how we do. I'm gonna start, since it's early, I'm gonna start with sanding the whole thing, and then hopefully half an hour later I'll be making noise and pounding out some dents. And then if the weather's okay or whatever, I might actually go ahead and paint this thing up and just be done with it. So we'll see how that goes. Well, when you get intimate with something, you finally realize that there's a lot more dents than you realized originally. However, I'm still thinking this is going to be covered. And of course, I'll put foam on it, and then none of that matters. So the question is, what do we want the back to look like? And now that I'm thinking about it, this has supports with insulation, so that doesn't matter as much either. However, the thing that does matter is this edge. It's pretty mangled, and up here, pretty mangled. I'm assuming this is correct, and this is not correct. A little bit flayed out, but not really sure actually. So I'm pretty sure. Back here, you know, if we were going nuts, we'd get this all flattened out and then we'd weld in a new back piece, but you know, for stuff like this. But just flattening it out, it's going to be pretty good improvement. And then again, it'll probably have leather wrapped around and holes for the screws. So how far do we take it? Now, one thing would say is, well, it's just time. However, the stuff that I bought is $185 a gallon. And as you saw with the gas tank and the one part of the doghouse, I started using a lot of it just for one little section. And I was like, how am I supposed to do a whole van with this? Yeah, might not. So I might have to switch to something else that's a little bit more affordable. But I really like this stuff. Seems to work well. So we're going to do some pounding. We're going to get this thing in an adequate shape. Try to take maybe some of this stuff out if possible. These little dings. Straighten out this back. Get the edge correct. There's a few things up here. Yeah, right here. There's some craziness. For the most part, this seems really good. Now, one thing I will say is maybe right here there might be a slight indentation, and right here there might be a slight indentation, and that's because people were sitting on this in the last 60 years, which sometimes they made even a backrest here, so this was like a third temporary seat. I don't know if that was a Ford thing or just modifications I've seen multiple times, but I'm assuming it was a Ford thing, maybe with a little pad here. And don't get me wrong, this thing is stout, especially with all these grooves. But I don't think that indentation is anything for me to really, I mean, it's smooth. Like, you wouldn't know it's not factory. However, I'm 90% sure that there's some indentation. So, because over here, well, even here, I could be wrong. That's just how it's made. This is the only place that I'm not noticing it. As soon as it comes here, it gets a little deeper here, a little less deep in the corner, and then right about here comes back in, and then right about here I don't notice it. So I'm definitely thinking that's years of use, but maybe not. So we'll start pounding away and see how far I get. Alright, so you can see this waste raider. this lip. A little bit of a flare out, in case that's on purpose. Not going to hurt anything. I had 2 major dents up front. Those are a lot better, so good to go. So I'm having a hard time making decisions here, because if I'm going to cover this, there's no reason to do all this body work. And at the same time, I'm like, but I don't know if I could paint this without it being good, you know? So, trying to feel good about my decisions here. And there's a few major dents that really need to be kind of smoothed out. And even though I know the foam's going to lighten that load, the foam could also form into it a little bit, so I figured, hey, why not? Why not? Pretty sure this is covered with insulation, but I want to make sure I get this back area just in case. So at least we've taken all the dust off of it, and now we're going to do a little putty here and there and see what happens. Well, at least I feel better that I just gave myself a few extra hours worth of work. We'll see. We'll see if we could change that, make it smaller, but I don't think we will. But the key here is to not go crazy and just sand once. But normally you'll create pinholes and stuff like that, and then you just keep going and keep layering, and that wasn't the point of this. The point of this was to smooth it out and call it a day. So we will see. Well, I was trying to make it in one pass, but that didn't happen. So I'm just doing a little touch up because, again, I'm going to leather over this. So what I'm doing probably doesn't matter that much, but I figured I'd get some of the major little nuances, you know, fixed, and then that way it looks at least decent on the underside, you know, before everything goes on top of it. So we'll see how this is baking out here. So as I said before, you know, try to do this in one snap, and that wasn't happening. So I just kind of filled up the little gullies that were there, and a few little nuances, and you know, we'll let that do one more sanding and kind of call it a day. I'm not really looking for perfection on this, but within reason perfection. I still want to lay my hand over it and not have anything that like jaggedly jumps out at me. So and for some reason I had some like pinholes or something back here with the other filler. I'm not sure why. Maybe I didn't get it in there, or maybe there was a big gully that I didn't know about. So I'm using all sorts of fascinating words today. Gully. It's not even in my vocabulary. Let's hop on the ship today. So yeah, so it's going pretty well. That looks a little wet. Getting this red stuff off your hands is almost impossible, so learned that the hard way today. So this is coming really close.